of Virat Hindustan Sangam. As you know, we started this program on Ram Navami Day in April, and first we were for 2 months daily show, and then from June we became a weekly program on Sundays at 8 p.m. That what we are today, and today is our 75th episode with Dr. Subramanian Swamy, Gyan Ganga, Words of Wisdom of Virat Hindustan Sangam. It has been a big achievement because every week we are coming with different topics for discussion with Dr. Swamy and with some of our guests. And I Words of Wisdom and Gyan Ganga, and you may look forward to having interesting programs and editions in the near future. As you all know, on the 7th, that is on Tuesday, the 15th of September, we have a special episode on the birthday celebration of Dr. Subramanian Swamy's birthday at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Do remember, you can watch our program live on YouTube on Tuesday, the 15th September at 7 p.m. And the link will be shared with you on our Virat Hindustan Sangam 4 social media channels of YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram. With this, we start today's program. And again, I thank all viewers for their overwhelming support. Over to, before I invite Dr. Swamy, I would request Ramesh Swamy to make some announcements.
Welcome viewers to the 75th episode. We are going to play a few, we have received a few videos that we're going to play that people who have been our guests in the past. So we're going to play a few videos because we are hitting the 75th episode timeline. I'll play two of them. The first video is from Sri Sarju Roy ji, and after that I will play another video by Sri Rajiv Malhotra ji.
But I would now request Dr. Swamy to be speaking to us on today's topic, Youngistan. Over to Dr. Subramanian Swamy for his talk. Dr. Swamy.
Yeah, thank you. You have the title you have given is Youngistan Hindustan. Youngistan is what a sandhi of an English word and a Hindi word. Essentially, what you're meaning is the young population, and it's as a collective, it's like a stan. So you see, why is the young population important? And why is there so much discussion in international forums on the proportion of young people? Generally speaking, the productive population is between the ages of 15 to 65. And of that, 15 to 40 is the population which is which is the target one for most people in terms of innovations. Innovation is the key factor in the acceleration of economic growth. People think that more capital, more labor coming together, that produces growth. But that produces growth with the law of diminishing returns in operation. That is, as you add more and more capital and more labor, the additional increase in output of the GDP becomes smaller and smaller. That is called the law of diminishing returns. So in a sense, if you drop a curve, inputs on one axis and output on another axis, the curve goes like that and then flattens out. So what we have found in history of countries which have become developed countries is that they don't stick to one curve. They jump curves. And what makes them jump the curves is innovation. So Britain was, they had a lot of resources which they looted from India. But what changed Britain was the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution was changed because of locomotives and the Bessemer blast furnace, steel blast furnace, which gave an efficient way to produce steel. And steel and locomotives were the innovations which created industrial revolution in Britain, and then it spread to Europe. After that, the United States came into the picture. They had a series of innovations: wireless, telephones, teleprinters, and then by the time they reached World War II, they had invented aeroplanes, jet engines, fax machines. So therefore, the United States then took over to lead the world in terms of innovations. And that's how the United States got ahead of everybody. Prior to 1820, the United States was far behind Britain. But then the United States from 1900 onwards started accelerating. And the reason was they focused on innovation. And the last major innovation we have had is in the 1990s, which is the internet. Internet has changed the whole situation. And this Microsoft and all were created by youngsters. Generally speaking, people have found that research and development and the innovation aspect, research and development is one thing, but innovation is a new way of doing things. That innovation was done by really young people. And therefore, if you had a young population, it was good. Young population is also good because if you have an aging population, then and you're a developed country, then you have to pay social security, we have to pay pensions and provident fund. And that money is easier if more people come into the labor force than leave the labor force. So young people come into the labor force, they remain there a long time, and then the older people who go out. So whatever is cut from the pay and salary for gratuity and provident fund and pension, that is used to pay the old age pensions for people who retire. But if the number coming in becomes smaller and the number going out becomes larger, and they live longer also, as is happening now in Europe, then the payment of the pensions and gratuity and so on, whatever has been accumulated, becomes very difficult. And all the economic problems of Europe is like Greece and other places, they're not able to pay the dues of people who retire. And now, of course, because of Corona, everything has got suppressed in terms of publicity, but it's a problem. India is in a tremendously, really terrific position, so much so that many US magazines have written India's demographic dividend, as it's called, as a secret weapon. Because we today have a very young population. Our people under the age of, say, 45, 50 is, very large percentage, something like 45, 50%. And the average age of an Indian today is only 26. Whereas the average age of the American is 37, that of China, because of its one child per family policy, which they've now given up, the average age was 35. Average age of the Europeans is 45. Average age of Japanese is 50, because they applied the family planning program in a very strict way. So there's an aging population, ours is a young population. But our young populations are not getting the necessary education. The availability is very small. Now you see all this crisis you saw about NEET and JEE. People, youngsters, don't get enough to qualify in the examination. Has become a kind of a major stress point for all the young. And now, because of the Corona thing and the lack of facilities and so on, so many youngsters have been committing suicide. And I took it up because I regard our youth as an asset. So this youth, you see, is to be given an education, because education then opens your mind to new innovations. We need a lot of innovations. We have shortage of water, but we have a huge Indian Ocean. And you can take that ocean water and desalinate it seawater, and then give it as drinking water and usable water, as they call potable water. But we are not doing that. Some here and there we have done, and it's produced a tremendous change. The atomic energy establishment in Kalpakkam in Tamil Nadu coast, when the municipality said we can't give you water for your programs and your residential colonies, they set up desalination plant. And I would say that today Kalpakkam residential colonies are the only colonies which have 24 hours a day filtered water, pure water coming out of their taps. No other place. Same thing in Jamnagar, when the Reliance wanted to set up a refinery, and I think a polyester plant also. They were told by the municipality that, we can't give you so much water. So they decided to set up a large desalination plant, which I visited and seen, where they took water from the sea and desalinated it, and they produced so much water that now They're giving the municipality of Dwarka, Jamnagar, they are giving water instead and selling it to the municipality. So we have seen in other countries, Israel has no rivers, or perhaps one. But in Israel, you don't have any problem with water. For 24 hours a day, you get water in your taps because they desalinate water. Desalinate, and they sell it, of course. And they also, their technology is clandestinely being used by Arabs. Of course, now, thanks to President Trump, Israel has got access to UAE and Bahrain and Sudan, and I think more countries like Morocco and Tunis are also going to do. So these countries are desert countries, and they didn't have water, but desalination was the solution for them. And that's why if you go to Dubai, you see greenery, greenery, greenery. Abu Dhabi, greenery. How is that? Saudi Arabia, they are also using now desalination seawater, and they're using Israeli technology. So I would say that these are all outcomes of young people. Internet, for example, today is most beneficial to the shopkeeper. Bookstores today tell me without internet, we would never been able to make profit. Why? Because previously they had to go to the bookshelf and count which book is, how much is available, and when to order and all things. Now it's all computer. The computer automatically sends a message to the bookseller that we want so many copies more by such and such date. So the inventory control, as it's called, has now become minimized. So I would say today, Youngistan, as you call it, this population should be given the highest priority in our development thing, and that will change it. And that means they should have access to education. I don't understand why when Kothari Commission in 1966 said the GDP percentage devoted to education should be 6%. We have been giving measly amounts of 2%, 1.5%. Last year, our government cut funds to all the IITs and all that. So I would say that we don't understand that education is not for the elite. It is for the economy. Educated persons, they may be from the poorest background. They may even not have full education. Like in America, Bill Gates is a dropout from Harvard. He dropped out himself, and he then set about this innovation, and he is now billionaire. And same thing with a large number of other examples. So how to imbibe in the youth that desire not to get a steady job, but to go in for research development, at least a good fraction of it, especially when we have such a large youth population. If 70% of our population is below the age of 35, then imagine 0.7 multiplied by 1.3 billion. That means essentially almost 1.3 billion would be about 900 million. 900 million youngsters, and that is including from the age 0. And this is a huge benefit advance we have over China, because they went in for one child per family, and their population is becoming older and older. And other populations where people are producing one child or not producing any children because of modernity and their inability to keep their jobs and look after children, because both husband and wife both want to work. So India is superbly located in this asset, and we have enormous resources which need to be tapped. Tomorrow uranium will be over. What is going to be used? Thorium. Where is thorium found? 60% is found in the Indian shores. The sands of Tamil Nadu and Kerala give you monazite, from which you get thorium, and from thorium you get reactor fuel. There's no shortage of water. There's no because desalination seawater. If our intelligent youngsters decide to refine these hydrogen fuel cells for running automobiles, then we will be free from oil, importing of oil from these Arab countries and other countries. And we would be having a situation where we'll have enormous saving of our foreign exchange, and we would not be dependent on the price of oil going up and down. So I would say today we have to look at the youth in terms of how crucial they are for modernizing the Indian economy. And in addition to that, if our education system teaches our people, teaches our youngsters not to memorize but to think. In our country, we don't appreciate questioning. In America, if you see in the Disneyland, father and mother taking their two children to show them, these two children will be going on asking questions. Why is it like that? Why Mickey Mouse has got such a big ear? Why we don't have such big ear? They will be going on asking questions. In India, if any child asks too many questions, they say, keep quiet, otherwise I'll slap you. And so he's put down. So we have to now bring the children up also in terms of how they can be useful in the future for innovation. And we have that capacity. After all, you see, with nothing, we have produced a space technology, which is now the cheapest and the best in the world. And we have been able to set off atom bombs, hydrogen bombs, and we have so many, in many other things like automobile spare parts. We are number one in the world. The Deming Prize in Japan is every year the Indians win that, and yet we say Indians are sloppy. Indians don't do this thing. There's corruption. This thing that. This aspect is also there. So I would say the one part is, please spend at least 6% of your GDP on education so that everybody gets an education. Pay your teachers so well that they become inspiring people, not people who come for a job and they can't get a job anywhere else and they come. And then teach your children the mindset to take risk. If in life you don't take risk, then you can never be productive. And risk means facing failure also before you get success. So there is something called a mindset. And that is why our rishis and munis used to talk about how your mind development should take place and what you should do. Bhagavad Gita is all about mind development. And it reduces your stress because Bhagavan Krishna says, you have only right to work. You can, your karma is by work. Do good deeds, they all pile up. But the reward of your work is not necessary because you put in the maximum effort. Sometimes you will get reward without doing any work or very minimal work. Sitting at home, you will get it. Sometimes you will not get it even after you spend 3-4 years, sweating it out. And therefore, Krishna says, so that means your mindset then doesn't become stress. Will I fail? Will I succeed? This failure and success and failure trauma that people have. Our young children also should be taught, listen, you study to the maximum. Be satisfied you studied as well as possible. It doesn't matter what grades you get. Try for the highest grade, but whatever you get, don't become depressed. And some of them even hang themselves because of that. Because our society doesn't teach our people the normal mindset making. And that's why now the Americans have devised mindset making into 4 or 5 parts. One is cognitive intelligence. That is physics, mathematics, and so on. You learn it, there's an equation and there's a resolution, there's a chemical reaction, something comes out of it. So that's called cognitive intelligence. Then they say they teach they are beginning to now introduce into curriculum something called emotional intelligence, where how you express yourself to be able to persuade somebody. You don't have to show off. You may be brilliant, but you have to persuade somebody. Then you must have what is called as emotional intelligence. And so now you can go to Google and see books out in America on emotional intelligence. Then there is moral intelligence, that you should be taught that you will strive to get ahead, but you will not do it by immoral means, like pulling somebody's leg so that he can't overtake you. Indians have this very bad habit of jealousy. They may be in very high positions, but if they see somebody capable, they get nervous and they want to keep him out, push him out, that kind of thing. Why is that? Because our training is like that. It was not like that in the ancient Hindu days, but we have lost it during all these foreign invasions and so on. So then there is social intelligence. You put up a factory and put smoke into the air, then people living in the surroundings, they will all become sick. So you will have to have that commitment that I will not do any enterprise which harms society. I will not produce narcotic drugs because that will ruin society. I will not tempt people to behave in a manner by which families get disrupted. So this is called social intelligence. Then the most important thing our rishis taught, which now the Americans are teaching in their colleges, is called spiritual intelligence. It's according to that, and the Americans also in their books say that all knowledge, past, present, future, is in the cosmos, which we in Hindus call as Brahman. And you need, and they are communicated to you, to your brain by waves. So the whole idea of meditation, the whole idea of pure life, whole idea of waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's all connected to be able to easily access the information that is there, which gives you brain waves, how to do A, how to do B, etc. That is called spiritual intelligence. So these kinds of different intelligence have to be taught. So today you want Youngistan. Youngistan doesn't mean they are just young, and that will go very fast. What you mean by Youngistan is this body is our precious future, and therefore train them, give them opportunity, give them the right mindset. Then you will have a Virat Hindustan. And that is why we have created these 5 points that every Indian must learn, every Hindustani must learn. And that is what motivated us, because we know today our future lies with the young people, and they should have the right mindset. They shouldn't have inferiority complex. They shouldn't have jealousy in them. This is the whole idea of our focusing on the youth of today. So now we can have a discussion, but this is what I want to say in the beginning.
डॉक्टर स्वामी, थैंक यू. आपने बहुत अच्छा एक युवा वर्ग के ऊपर एक प्रकाश डाला कि किस प्रकार इनोवेशन के सहारे हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं. एक कविता का एक अंश है कि संघर्षों के साये में असली आजादी पलती है और इतिहास उधर चल देता है जिस ओर जवानी चलती. Young people turn the course of history.
Yes.
And even in India, right from freedom movement, a large number of youth participated in the freedom movement. Even post-independence in the JP's movement,
yes,
all the people who participated have become the leaders of today.
Yes.
In fact, about 60% of the leaders who are in the parliament and assemblies are those who participated in JP movement. We have seen Bihar, we have seen Gujarat, we have seen Assam. The students and youth of the country had actually participated in the political movements and changed the course of politics.
Yes.
But what is happening today, in last 20-30 years, no major youth movement has taken place.
Yes.
Youth have gone astray.
Yes.
युवा वर्ग हमारा भटक गया है, और सिवाय जवाहरलाल नेहरू यूनिवर्सिटी के और जामिया के और तेलंगाना में जो यूनिवर्सिटी है, हैदराबाद यूनिवर्सिटी, कुछ यूनिवर्सिटी में छोड़ के जहां पे भटकन वाले लोग हैं, जो गलत दिशा में जा रहे हैं, तो किस प्रकार से हम अपने युवा वर्ग को, आप क्या सलाह देंगे कि उनको हम सही रास्ते पर लाएं?
देखिए, मैं तो पहले ही कह रहा हूं कि जो संस्कार जो है वही यानी परिवार से संस्कार दी जानी चाहिए पहले, और उस संस्कार में जब हम ऐसी बातें कहते हैं, लोग समझते हैं ये सब वो पुरानी ओल्ड फैशन है। परिवार इतना महत्वपूर्ण है कि आज अमेरिका में सब मानते हैं कि सबसे बड़ी गलती की ये जो न्यूक्लियर फैमिली कहते हैं कि माँ बाप, दो बच्चे, और फिर बच्चा बड़ा हो जाता है, वो टाटा करके चल जाता, माँ बाप नहीं। आप हमारे ऐसा नहीं था। परिवार यानी साथ था, साथ रहे, यानी एक ही घर में रहने की जगह आसपास रहते थे और मिलते थे, बात करते थे, और संस्कार के कोई भी त्योहार होती तो मिलने के लिए परिश्रम करते थे। तो मैं ये कहता हूँ कि आज हमारी यूथ के लिए मूवमेंट एक तरीका है, बट मूवमेंट को हम आर्टिफिशियली जनरेट नहीं कर सकते, उसको यानी अपने मनमानी करके उसको पैदा नहीं कर सकते। एक मुद्दा होना है तब मूवमेंट होती है, और मैं ये कहता हूँ कि मूल्यों को देना चाहिए सबसे। अब हमारी जो है पश्चिम से अलग है। हम लोग समाज में जब हमारी इतिहास, पुरानी इतिहास देखोगे तो हमारी समाज में जो ज्ञानी और त्यागी था उसको सबसे ऊपर मानते थे। आज तो लोग कहते हैं, मुझे भी कहा था क्या प्रोफेसर बन के करोगे, तो कंपनी में जाके काम करो, किसी के नौकर बनो, पढ़ाओ मत, टीचर मत बनो, उसमें कुछ नहीं है। तो ये जो संस्कार जो है वो पहले तब आएगी जब आपको अपना क्या कहते हैं, अपनी जो आइडेंटिटी जिसको कहते हैं, अपने अस्मिता जो है उसको पहचानना चाहिए। हमारी अस्मिता पश्चिम से अलग है, उस अस्मिता को सिखाना चाहिए लोगों को। ये हमारी अस्मिता है, ये भारत प्राचीन देश है, इसमें हम इसको ज्यादा मानते थे। हम ज्ञानी और त्यागी को राजा से भी ऊपर मानते थे, करोड़पति को हम तीसरे दर्जा देते थे। जब तक वो दान नहीं देता था उसको हम कोई कीमत नहीं देते थे। नहीं, तो इस प्रकार से संस्कार की आवश्यकता है। दूसरा है कि हमें वो जो टेंशन कहते हैं अंग्रेजी में, ये तो आपको मारने वाली एक बुरी आदत है कि हर बात पर टेंस रहना। जब आप परिणाम के ऊपर ही आपकी नजर है। मैंने प्रयास किया, उससे किसी को तसल्ली नहीं मिलती है, संतोष नहीं मिलती है। तो मैं ये कहता हूँ कि ये इस प्रकार से जैसे हमने VHS में जो 5 पॉइंट्स बनाई है, ये आप अनिवार्य कर दो तो मनुष्य यानी जो मनुष्य पैदा होगा इस देश में और बड़ा होगा वो बिल्कुल भिन्न होगा। वो वही होगा जिसने इस देश का इतनी उच्च स्थान हजारों साल के लिए दिया था।
डॉक्टर स्वामी, आपने फेलियर का जिक्र किया, आपने तनाव का, स्ट्रेस का जिक्र किया। मैं आपको बताऊं, नेशनल क्राइम रिकॉर्ड ब्यूरो जो है NCRB ने अभी आंकड़े पिछले महीने दिए थे। उन्होंने बताया कि 25 साल से जो कम उम्र के लोग हैं, 2019 में 10,235 यूथ कमिटेड सुसाइड, and when they investigated into the reasons, they found two major regions which cover about 40% or 45% of suicides. One is the family dispute.
Yes.
And second is exam failure.
Yes.
तो ये जो आपने डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ स्पिरिचुअल इंटेलिजेंस की बात बताई, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट से की सॉल्यूशन।
माँ बाप को बताना चाहिए, मैंने तो ये प्रैक्टिस किया, मैं जानता हूँ, कहना चाहिए देखो परिणाम क्या आएगा मुझसे उससे कोई संबंध नहीं है, तुम फर्स्ट क्लास मिली, सेकंड क्लास मिली, थर्ड क्लास मिली, फेल, तो मैं तसल्ली है, तुम्हें संतोष है कि तुमने पूरा प्रयास किया सीखने के लिए, एग्जाम के लिए, पढ़ने के लिए, और रेगुलरली पढ़े। ये तो आखिरी वक्त में पढ़ना, आखिरी 2 महीने में पढ़ने की कोई भी नहीं आगे बढ़ सकता। सबसे अच्छा विद्यार्थी वो है जो क्लास में जाने के पहले से पता होता है कि क्या पढ़ाई जाएगा, उसको प्रयास करेगा, पुस्तकों से कंपल्सरी पुस्तकें जो होती हैं उसमें से देखेगा कि भाई क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं, समझ आए ना समझ आए, परंतु उसको तो देखा है। क्लास में बिल्कुल ध्यान देकर सुनेगा और घर में आकर फिर रिव्यू करेगा कि मुझे क्या पढ़ाया गया, तो ये ब्रेन में ऑटोमेटिकली मंथन जैसा बन जाती है। और कभी ऐसे व्यक्ति कभी सेकंड नहीं आ सकता, फर्स्ट ही आएगा या फर्स्ट 10 में आएगा, क्योंकि सब लोग ऐसे हो जाएंगे तो सब फर्स्ट नहीं आ सकते। तो ये सब कोई सिखाता नहीं है, सिर्फ बड़ा यानी बैग पहना के स्कूल भेज देते हैं, अपने बस आई उसको बैठा देते हैं, और क्या कर रहा है माँ बाप सिर्फ चाहते हैं कि इसकी परफॉर्मेंस हो, कुछ अच्छी नौकरी मिलके चले जाए। ये जो आज हमारे देश में बन गई है, ये अंग्रेजों के जमाने से ज्यादा तीव्र गति से ये स्थापित की थी, ताकि अंग्रेज समझते थे कि हिंदुस्तानियों को आप ये सारा इंडिपेंडेंस रिसर्च करने दोगे तो फिर वो हमारे सिर पर बैठ जाएंगे, इसीलिए वो संस्कार भी बदलते थे हमारी। और ये जो संस्कृत को हटाया मकौले ने और इंग्लिश लाया, वो इसीलिए लाया। तो इसीलिए मैं कहता हूँ कि संस्कार और इसके साथ विद्या के लिए उसको पूजनीय मानना, और जो आपको सिखाता है उसके साथ उसके प्रति श्रद्धा रखना, ये सारी चीजों को जब हम सिखाते हैं तब ही विद्यार्थी एग्जाम में फेल होगा भी नहीं करेगा, कहेगा मैं दोबारा ट्राई करूंगा और मैं अच्छी मार्क्स लेकर आऊंगा और पार करूंगा। तो ऐसे जो एक जिसको कहते हैं मंशा या चेतना, ये जगाने की आवश्यकता है।
Dr. Swamy, there's a lot of questions from our viewers.
Yeah.
One of the question is, what is the source of your energy? They all want to know, the youth want to know, what is the source of your energy?
See, energy comes when you don't have stress. Stress comes when you don't care for the outcome. Of course, you try for the best outcome, but if it doesn't come, you don't mind. Okay, I'll try again. You may lose an election, but that doesn't break your heart. Of course, media may say he's finished, his career is over and all that. But you say, okay, next up. That's happened with me. I've been to Parliament 6 times without spending a penny. So I think what is the main problem of energy bottling or energy disbursement is the stress of being able to succeed. Everything is decided by success. Of course, you have to aim for success, but it doesn't come. You try again. That's why I encourage everybody, read biographies of great men. Ho Chi Minh. No, I mean, few people know who Ho Chi Minh is, but he's written a biography which is worth reading. What he would have never thought he would ever become victorious and become the father of his new nation, Vietnam. When I was in emergency, everybody said the emergency will not go. Now Indira Gandhi for 20 years. After that, Sanjay Gandhi for another 20 years. After that, his dog also will for another 20 years. This is the kind of thing they were saying. Why are you doing all this? My Harvard colleagues, because I went to campaign in America, they said, don't go back. When I came back to India, people said, oh, now, Indira Gandhi will win hands down. Indian people, their stomach are empty. But those whose stomach was full in South India, they voted for Indira Gandhi. But those whose stomach was empty in UP, Bihar, and Haryana, and all, they completely wiped out Mrs. Gandhi. Janata Party won only because of North India, not because of South India. So these are things that you have to have. Your mindset should be, I will do my best, I'll concentrate, I will not look this way or that way. And then you have to have regular habits, all this nightclubs and binges and so on. Now that we are seeing in this Sushant's case, what kind of life people are leading, that will only will wear you down. And at a very early age, you will become very old and you'll lose your energy. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, it's not Indians, because Indians go to America and they are performing better than the local people there. So the fact is that the environment today is just stuffy, you see. This hierarchical system, this refusal, this jealousy which refuses you to acknowledge the greatness of other people. In America, I tell you, even if they don't like you, if you have done good work, they come and tell you, congratulations, we are very happy. I remember when my joint paper with Paul Samuelson came, two of my biggest enemies came to congratulate me. I said, you're so lucky. I wish, people would give their right arm to be a joint author with Paul Samuelson. But they came, they wished me. And most of the Americans, for example, I found, want to get ahead. They don't want to pull you down so that you don't get ahead of them. Whereas in India, we have this negative view. And that is why parents are very important. You cannot get children to become people who can go to class and then tell the teacher what you're doing is wrong or what you're doing is right. I've read it. I've come after reading my books. Teachers also should be those who like their students to cross-question them, to point out their mistakes they've done in class. So these are the great people. Paul Samuelson did a joint paper with me. Why? Because I found out an error in his class, in a course. And he said, you come to my office after this. Many people thought he was going to throw me out from the university. But when I went to his room, he said, you have given me a new food for thought. Let's collaborate in a research paper. And became a classic in the theory of index numbers. So that was how our Rishi Munis were there. They would also teach you that way. And they would, they would not play favorites. That is the thing we have to revive, bring it back. I don't think the Indian metal or Indian material is flawed. In fact, the same Indian, I've seen people coming from Bihar schools and colleges and performing brilliantly in America, because the system, they take like duck to water, and they look at today, I think Google is headed by an Indian, or Microsoft is also, I think, headed by Indian. You have Indians all over. You yourself, Ramesh, are performing in America. And it's a high competition, tremendous competition. But your Indians are becoming the most prosperous community. So I wouldn't say Indians, but I would say that within India, we don't encourage people to get ahead. And if your junior becomes better than you, instead of feeling proud about it, you feel, well, take his research, and force him to put his name in first, and then your name second. This bureaucracy which the British left with us, that is still there. So these are the factors, but I don't think there's anything intrinsically short for an Indian.
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर स्वामी. अगला सवाल अरविंद चतुर्वेदी करेंगे डॉक्टर स्वामी से. Arvind, are you there?
Dr. Swamy, this is a question from a viewer. मैं हिंदी में पूछता हूँ. ये कहते हैं कि भारत में जो योग्यता है उसको सही पहचान नहीं मिल पाती, उसको सही मार्गदर्शन नहीं मिल पाता, और उसका कारण ये है कि हर जगह आरक्षण है, और आरक्षण से जो योग्य लोग होते हैं वो हतोत्साहित हो जाते हैं और पीछे हट जाते हैं, क्योंकि उनको पता है कि योग्यता का भी कहीं कहीं मापदंड नहीं है, और जो योग्य लोग हैं उनको आगे बढ़ने से रोका जाता है. इसके बारे में आप क्या कहें?
आरक्षण है जॉब्स में, नौकरी में, आरक्षण है यूनिवर्सिटीज में, यही है ना. जहाँ तक नौकरी में है वो तो सिर्फ सरकारी दफ्तरों में ही रिजर्वेशन है. लेकिन आज सरकारी दफ्तरों में क्या मिलती है? कुछ नहीं मिलती. प्राइवेट कंपनीज में कोई आरक्षण नहीं है, वहाँ तो स्पर्धा है. तो ये आरक्षण को क्यों दोष देते हो? इसी प्रकार से मैं कहता हूँ कि यूनिवर्सिटीज में एडमिशन नहीं मिलती है. मैं 99% मार्क्स होने के बाद भी कोई 80% है या 70% वो आरक्षण में आ जाता है. तो मैं कहता हूँ सरकार आज है मेरे ख्याल में क्या 400 यूनिवर्सिटीज, कितना है उसकी जगह में 4000 यूनिवर्सिटीज खोल दो. अमेरिका में जो भी अलुमनाई हैं वो आकर यूनिवर्सिटीज को या विस्तार करते हैं या नया यूनिवर्सिटी खोलते हैं. हमारे देश में क्यों नहीं करते? एक भी यूनिवर्सिटी यहाँ, वहां तो अमेरिका में हार्वर्ड, कोलंबिया, स्टैनफोर्ड सब सरकारी पैसे में नहीं चलती है. जो वहां से ग्रेजुएट होकर के फिर एलुमनाई बने, उन्होंने अच्छा कमाया, उस पैसा को लेकर वो यूनिवर्सिटी को मजबूत करते हैं. तो हमारे देश में वो जो पहले एक शिक्षा के लिए एक सम्मान था, यानी माध्यम नौकरी के लिए नहीं, बट तो एक अपने मानवता की जो पहचान करने के लिए आप शिक्षा को महत्व देते थे, उसको लाना है वापस. ये लोगों का दोष नहीं है, ये तो हमारी सरकार की है. सरकार ने आज तक एजुकेशन में कोई इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं दी. हमारे जो देवताओं थे उन्होंने 3 मुख्य जो विभाग बनाई, डिफेंस, फाइनेंस एंड एजुकेशन. तीनों को महिला भगवानों को वो दायित्व दिया. सरस्वती को एजुकेशन, फाइनेंस को लक्ष्मी, और डिफेंस पार्वती या दुर्गा. अब पुरुष में तो कुछ नहीं. यहाँ तो महिलाओं को तो इतनी जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है उसको भी, यानी हम रिजर्वेशन में सिर्फ हमारे यानी हमारे लिए बाधा नहीं बनती, महिलाओं को कितनी बाधा है. ये हमारी संस्कृति नहीं है. ये सारे पिछले 1000 साल में जो विकृति आई है उसका है. इसीलिए उसमें पुनरुत्थान करने के लिए हमें जोर देना चाहिए, और हम तो बहुत जल्दी बदल सकते हैं. मुझे याद है कि जब मैं कॉलेज में स्टूडेंट था तो लोग कहते थे हमारी ग्रोथ रेट 3.5% से ज़्यादा कभी हो ही नहीं सकता. उसको कम्युनिस्टों ने कहा कि ये हिंदू रेट ऑफ ग्रोथ है. परंतु चंद्रशेखर और नरसिम्हा राव के पीरियड में हम 8% तक पहुंच गए. उसके बाद 8% कोई बड़ी चीज नहीं है. तो ये जो हीन भावना जो पैदा की जाती है हमारी मंशा में, वो और जो जलन, ये जो ऊर्जा खाने वाली चीज है, उसको हमें हटाना चाहिए. उसके लिए हमें माँ बाप भी सिखानी चाहिए, स्कूलों कॉलेज में भी सिखाना चाहिए.
आपने फरमाया कि कॉलेजेस और खोलने चाहिए. आज सुबह, आज दोपहर को नीट का एग्जाम था।
हाँ,
और उसमें 16 लाख लगभग विद्यार्थियों ने भाग लिया है, 16 lakhs। हमारे देश में 532 मेडिकल कॉलेजेस हैं, जिसमें 76,000 के लिए जगह है।
हाँ,
और एमडी में तो जब वो एमबीबीएस कर लेते हैं तो एमडी के लिए तो 5,000 से भी कम है। तो इतने डॉक्टर बनना चाहते हैं और हमारे पास सीट नहीं है, तो कंपटीशन ज्यादा है।
हाँ।
तो सरकार क्यों ऐसा नहीं करती कि सरकार ज्यादा मेडिकल कॉलेज खोले, और जो लोग मेडिकल कॉलेज खोलना चाहते हैं उनको प्राथमिकता दे, उनको सहूलियत दे, उनको सुविधाएं दे, उनका उत्साहवर्धन करे। प्राइवेट पार्टीज, जो प्राइवेट बड़े बड़े घराने हैं, उद्योग के घराने हैं, उनको टैक्स में छूट दे ताकि वो कॉलेज खोल सकें।
राइट। मैं कहता हूं सरकार ये क्यों नहीं कर रही, जो आपने सवाल किया। मैं पूछने चाहता हूं कि चुनाव अब थोड़ा बदल आया है, परंतु अधिक पिछले 70 साल में, असली 60 साल सरकारें बनी इस आधार पर कि तुम्हारा जात क्या है। तुमने टिकट भी ऐसे ही दिया कि यहाँ यादव ज्यादा है तो यहाँ यादव को दे दो। तो जब लोग ये सब तय करते हैं कि जिस पार्टी मुझे कहती है कि मैं आज 400 के यूनिवर्सिटी से मैं इसको 4,000 बनाऊंगा 10 साल में, 5 साल में उस 2,000 तक ले जाऊंगा, और ऐसा सीट्स अवेलेबल होंगे जिसमें से किसी को रिजर्वेशन के कारण एडमिशन नहीं मिला, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता। ऐसे लोग सोचने लगेंगे तो सरकार भी बदल जाएगी। और लोगों में ये उत्साहित करना चाहिए कि पढ़े लिखे लोग राजनीति में आए। अब जात पर होती है तो या जो कौन लाठी लेकर वोट के लिए इंतजाम कर सकता है, ऐसे होगा तो गुंडे बदमाशी या जात के आधार पर कमीना भी आ जाएंगे, जो बुद्धू भी आ जाएंगे, ऐसे हो जाएगा। आई मीन जब पब्लिक खुद सोचने लगे कि मेरिट के आधार पर मैं चुनाव में वोट दूंगा, बाकी सब चीज अपने आप हो जाएगी। यहाँ का मेरिट में होती है, हाँ एक दो को हो जाती है कभी अन्य कारण से। मुझे वोट देते हैं तो कहते हैं इमरजेंसी में हीरो था। ये नहीं कि मैंने मेरा पीएचडी है, हार्वर्ड में प्रोफेसर था, सारे रिकॉर्ड तोड़ी थी एग्जाम्स में, ऐसा नहीं कहते लोग। ये वीर है, इसने इमरजेंसी में इंदिरा गांधी को दिखा दिया जगह। तो ये पब्लिक को आज कंप्लेन करने के अधिकार नहीं है। तुमने ऐसी सरकार को बनाई है जो जिस आधार पर बनी है उसके आधार पर चल रहे हैं, अपने बेस को सुरक्षित रखने के लिए वो करते रहते हैं।
एक और सवाल मैं थोड़ा सा पूछना चाहता हूँ। रमेश had actually mentioned about that, about engineering education. CII जो हमारी उद्योग की बॉडी है, CII ने एक सर्वे किया था और उसने बताया था कि 75% इंजीनियर्स ऑफ दिस कंट्री आर नॉट एम्प्लॉयबल। जो इंजीनियरिंग का करिकुलम हम पढ़ा रहे हैं उनको नौकरी नहीं मिलती, तो मजबूरन क्या होता है कि जो लोग इंजीनियर होते हैं वो एमबीए के लिए चले जाते हैं। आज एमबीए के कॉलेज में 75% जो एडमिशन सीख करते हैं दे आर इंजीनियर्स। तो पहले वो 4 साल इंजीनियरिंग करेंगे, फिर वो मैनेजमेंट करेंगे, तब वो जॉब ढूंढेंगे। तो इंजीनियरिंग पर से जिसके सबसे ज्यादा कॉलेजेस हैं और सबसे ज्यादा विद्यार्थी जिस क्षेत्र में जाते हैं वो इंजीनियरिंग है, और इंजीनियरिंग नौकरी नहीं दे पा रही उनको।
ये देखिए, पहले तो आईआईटी से जो ग्रेजुएट होता है वो तो एम्प्लॉयबल है, परंतु उसको सारा समाज में जो माहौल है वो है कहाँ आप सबसे ज्यादा कमा सकते हैं, और इसीलिए वो कहते हैं कि एक ही रास्ता है, बन जाओ यानी बिजनेस कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में नौकरी मिल जाए। उसके लिए एमबीए जानने की जरूरत है, इसीलिए एमबीए में जाते हैं। तो मैं जब स्टूडेंट था स्कूल में, उस समय इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज में जाना बहुत बड़ी चीज थी। आज इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज एक रास्ता है, एमबीए, आईआईएम्स इसमें हो गया। तो ये सारी जो है, ये हमारी जो गुलामी यानी हमारी जो हीन भावना है जो अंग्रेजों के जमाने से जमा है, उस हीन भावना से ऐसे ही हमारी लक्ष्य बन जाती है कि मैं, राजनीति में भी ऐसे ही है, मैं यहाँ पढ़े लिखने की कितना तनख्वाह मिल रही है, आज टीचर बनने चाहता है तो उसमें कुछ नहीं मिलेगी, कौन टीचर बनने चाहता है। और राजनीति में भी तुम कितना भी अच्छे विचार रखोगे, पब्लिक में अच्छे अच्छे विचार बताओगे, वो महत्व नहीं है। तो मिनिस्टर हो नहीं बना तो तुम मिनिस्टर ही नहीं बने। इस प्रकार से जब मैं मिनिस्टर था तो आप हमारे साथ थे मिनिस्ट्री में, आप हमारे ऑफिस में मुझे मदद की थी, तो आप जानते हैं कि कितनी इज्जत मिलती थी। मिनिस्टर नहीं है तो सब बदल जाती है। तो इसीलिए डंडा मारो, लाठी चलाओ, पर मिनिस्टर बन जाओ। ये जो सारी जो बीमारी है, इसके लिए हम कितने बार कहते हैं, VHS में तो हम कहते रहे कि पुनरुत्थान होना चाहिए। जब मंशा बदलेगी पुनरुत्थान होगी।
Dr. Swamy, some of our viewers actually have referred to this VHS organization, our organization.
Yes.
I just, for the information of the viewers, like to tell them कि डॉक्टर सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी की जो संस्था है विराट हिंदुस्तान संगम, जिसके अध्यक्ष डॉक्टर स्वामी हैं, इसकी शाखाएं बहुत सारे देशों में और हिंदुस्तान में अनेक प्रांतों में और शहरों में है। तो आप हमारी वेबसाइट, जो आपके अभी टीवी या स्क्रीनों पर मॉनिटर पर दिखता है, उसमें हमारी वेबसाइट पे जाइए। प्लीज गो टू आवर वेबसाइट www.vhsindia.org एंड ज्वाइन आवर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। और उसके द्वारा फिर हमारे स्टेट यूनिट आपके साथ संपर्क करेंगे, और जो ये हमारा मूवमेंट है विराट हिंदुस्तान संगम का, इसमें आप जुड़ जा सकेंगे। Dr. Swamy, there's another question from our viewers that many of the universities have very few students who have got different ideology which doesn't match what is the ideology of the nation.
Yes.
And they have, some of them are jihadis or some of them are the leftist, which is not the real reflection of what is in the population. So what is your comments on this? Because many of the students at the university or college level can get misled by such elements in our academic system.
Yeah.
So some viewers want to your remarks on this.
See, my experience is that with Jawaharlal Nehru, the process of what they call as secularism began to make people disregard religious values. Then the appeasement for votes led to tolerating extremist behavior in certain groups and came down very heavily on those who are in majority. So this is a historical process to which we have come. Today, at least there is a conflict available. There are people who are nationalistic and there are people who are anti-national. But I would say that when I was a student, there was only one view, and that is the view which Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru preached, that all this religion is hocus pocus. You must now be modern, scientific temper. This is a word I used to be told a lot. So therefore what happened is a contempt began to come for your country. And that contempt then ultimately translated itself into, jihadis and anything which was against India's historical, cultural milieu and cultural background. That was given much more importance. And then universities were set up for this purpose. Jawaharlal Nehru University from day one was like this. It's only now there is a challenge. And so I would say, I will look at it very hopefully that this last 10 years there's been a big change. for the better. And in my opinion, in the next 15 years, we'll be again transformed to a nationalistic educational complex, and people who will none will say that breaking tukra of India is a good thing, or even dare to preach that, or to say taking narcotics, drugs is fashion, and that means you are modern if you take it. All these value system will change.
Dr. Swamy, I'm going to attempt asking a question.
Another question from the viewers is that as engineering students, we have no integration amongst disciplines in terms of course focusing on product development for innovation, unlike Europe, Japan, leading scholars to publish papers, but less patents. So,
yes, I agree.
Yeah.
See, the question is, in all these countries they are quoting, you will find that businesses will invest. They want some new innovation, they'll come and invest money for research and development. And United States even set up a governmental agency called National Science Foundation, which used to give liberal funds for research. And research means there is no direct nexus between the money spent and the research output. The moment you do that, then it becomes hack. People start stealing, plagiarization, all that takes place. You must, if you are convinced a person is bright, he's capable of producing something, then you must give him money. But that doesn't mean you should expect that he will produce the result. He may not be able to do it in the first year, he may not be able to do it in the second year, he may not be able to do it in the third year, but he may be able to do it in the fourth year. But if you say after 2 years nothing has come out of it, discontinue it, then of course it becomes difficult for people to think in terms of writing papers, getting patents, and so on. But Indians are doing, the same Indian is doing in the United States. How many of our people here, Ramesh is sitting here, Shri Iyer is there, how many patents Shri Iyer has got? And, people on the top of the profession after coming from the regular school and college training here. So I think the issue is the way our society, which was built to produce babus for the British, is still struggling to get rid of that. And our colleges should be to produce individual thinkers and who can do to bring about change in the country. And these foreign ideologies, they should no more be fashionable. And unless you crack down on people who want to destroy your country or break it up, you will continue to see this as a fashionable way. Some people think that this is another way for living a bohemian life, by professing that, we are not conservatives, we are not people stuck in the past, and all this nonsense stuff that is taught by some people in some parties. Those are things that we have to deal with, and we haven't dealt with it so far because people are afraid to deal with it because of the noise factor that they create.
So, Dr. Swamy, one question now. So, I hope I'm audible this time. People like me and a lot of other people, I'm small, but there are a lot of expats who would love to come to India and start something unique. Okay, there are struggles, no wonder, because of lack of infrastructure. We've always talked about it. But that's still, you just mentioned about the babus, they still have this mentality that before you start, we're going to harass so much that you pretty much let go of what you do. The large companies come to India for what? Labor arbitrage, period. Beyond that, maybe some companies do. I'm not denying that. There are companies that do that. But I think going forward with the China challenge, America will look for India to be the next innovation hub. So what do we do to make sure that, okay, how do we improve not only expats, but in general, a lot of companies to jump into India to run on the innovation bandwagon?
See, there are both sides to this matter. Yes, those who come from abroad, there is resistance, there's jealousy. They feel that, these chaps, they have been abroad and now they're coming and sitting on my head, so on. This is one aspect. The other aspect, you see, is that we are a society which has been put down for almost 1,000 years. And to turn it around, you have to have people with this mind that you want to be in India. There's no compulsion that you have to be in India. But if you want to be in India, hell or high water, I will not leave India. I remember Mrs. Gandhi telling me that had I known that you would not return back to Harvard after we got you dismissed from IIT, I would never have dismissed you, because you have become a headache for me now. So this is what happens. People come here, they get disheartened, then they go back. If you want to come to India, you come with this, I don't care if I end up in the ditch, but I will be in India. And then you'll find mysteriously roads start opening up. Today I've achieved much more than I would have achieved if I had been in America. Leave alone all small things like the Nobel Prize and so on, which if I'd stayed in Harvard, I would have got it. But today, the public recognition that this is my country, no matter how long I lived in America, it was not my country. And if I got a little insolent, so to speak, I would be reminded. If you think that America is so bad, why don't you go back and rectify your own country? So therefore, but don't come back unless you have piled some few $1 million. At least $2-3 million you should have. Then you are at nobody's mercy here. And I'm sure that after the initial cutting your teeth, you will see India as a place which will receive you, which will make it easier for you to function.
Okay, Arvind.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy, for guiding the youth of the country. In fact, we are indeed Youngistan. As you said earlier, our 50% population is below 25 years, 65% population is below 35 years, and 75% population is below 50 years. Our average age is 29.
Yes.
In fact, today, let me also tell our viewers that day after tomorrow, on 15th of September, Dr. Swamy will be 81 years young. And therefore, we named this program as Youngistan. And whatever difficulties youth face, you have also given some kind of solution. And to young people about not to get discouraged, not to carry the stress with them, and try to be innovative. And innovation is what leads the country. Innovation is what will lead the economy of this country. Thank you very much for giving those valuable points in guiding the youth of this country. Thank you, Mr. Jagdish Shetty, my co-host, and Ramesh Swamy, and the technical team led by Ashish, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Tejas, and Vishal Mehta. Thank you very much. Next Sunday, again we will be meeting in a special program of Gyan Ganga, that is 19th of September, 20th of September. But just for our information to our viewers, we have a special program organized by Virat Hindustan Sangam. Should I say Virat Youngistan Sangam? Day after tomorrow, to celebrate the birthday of Dr. Subramanian Swamy. That program is available on all those channels where this program is also available, like the YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. At 7 p.m. on 15th of September, this special program for Dr. Subramanian Swamy's birthday celebration will be available. Join us then, and then again regularly as we meet on every Sunday, 8 p.m. next Sunday, we'll come with Dr. Subramanian Swamy and another topic. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Live streaming has stopped.